Okay, so ignore the music. Don't know what's happening. But I think if maybe have an intro. It's gonna be hey hey hello. It is a reference to haiku, except I cut it off at just hey hey hey. It's Bakugou. So if you like it, that's great. So we're doing a video that was recommended to me. I don't know how the hell this person. Oh, I just liked it because I forgot to like it. Unlike it, I mean. This is by Bracket Angel Bracket. And again, don't know how they figured this out, but I'll read it for you. What if Deku had Loan Shark? Explaining the power, he can loan people power, but if they want to keep it and make it stronger, they have to kill and absorb other people's power. And Deku will gain a small percentage of the power, but with every kill, the percentage of power he gets will be higher and higher. Then the person borrowing the power will eventually become a person who kills mindlessly. Sorry if I didn't explain it clearly. So, these are just... I asked if they want a particular ship. They said, it's my choice, and then I put granola, because, I mean, why not? And obviously I said it was good, and I'll use it. So, I don't know what I'm going to use for this, but I guess I'll just use a villain Deku. I'm actually, oh, crud. Is he going to be a villain? I haven't got into this knowing anything. These are one of my, I watch a lot of particular things, and, this is one of my favorite drawings. So I'm probably gonna use this. So, will he be a villain or not? See, if he's a villain, then that means that he needs a backstory, and if he's a hero, then that means that he needs that he probably just doesn't use his quirk. Now I've already done a quirkless Deku. I've already done a powerful Deku, but I haven't done a villain Deku. And just throwing this out there, villain Deku is one of my faves, AUs. So I'm probably just gonna use villain Deku. So I guess we'll just start. To start off, okay, what is happening? I'm so confused. To start off this AU, I'm gonna say he was born to, Hisashi Midoriya and Inko Midoriya. But Hisashi, we're going there. Hisashi is just if you know what I'm saying. Hisashi is just a cover-up name. His real name is, we don't know his real name. His real name is Hisashi Shigaraki, otherwise known as All For One. If you haven't watched the manga, read the manga, or at least heard spoilers about the manga, yeah, this is very spoilery, because, yeah, this is very spoilery, so sorry. So, but not the fact that All For One is Izuku's father, that's a theory, but the fact that his real name is Shigaraki, we don't know if we don't know his first name though. Basically, he gave birth to, he did not give birth, Inko gave birth to, Izuku, and, that's around when All Might attacked All for One, and got him all scarred up, and then he went into hiding. But instead of telling his family that he's on a business trip, he's saying that he got in a bad car accident and that he's getting better in a hospital. So then he can eventually go back to his family. Just all fucked up. Like he normally is. And he was hoping to retire when he defeated All Might and give up his quirk to little baby Shigaraki and have Kurogiri train him. But he got beat up so harshly that now he can't retire. Also, he didn't defeat All Might, so he double can't retire. So he was also kind of planning on just like defeating the whole One for All thing, because he knows the fact that All Might hadn't gave anyone his quirk yet, so he thought that he could just defeat him, but he can't, obviously, because now he's not defeated. All Might is now the number one hero and the symbol of peace, and now he's in shambles with Shigaraki and Kurogiri as his only backup. Nothing else. So Izuku doesn't know about his father being a villain, but he does know that his quirk is called Loan Shark. Is that what he says? Is it Loan Shark? Loan Shark. Okay. That's what I should have said. What do you want me to explain? I should have been like, why Loan Shark? But yeah, it's Loan Shark. His quirk is Loan Shark, and it's kind of similar to his father's in that he can give people quirks. But he didn't explain this, but I'm just gonna say it. I'm pretty sure he can give anyone any quirk that he likes. So like he could give a person teleportation. Or being able to snap someone out of existence. So he first gave his a quirk by accident to his mom. I guess he was like hugging her, and then he accidentally gave her like healing, maybe. And sorry, my mind just went completely blank. That was me trying to clap my hand. And failing. So he gets the quirk. He gives his mom his quirk, and it's healing. And the person is naturally drawn to killing. So she first just like the first time that you used your quirk. See, I'm taking the person thing and I'm like adding stuff to it. So you use the quirk one time and then it starts making you want to kill to grow it more. So maybe Izuku had like a cut from like scraping his knee, and his mom healed it, like trying to like be like, oh, is it okay? And then she like touched it and then it was all gone. And then she felt like a sudden urge of power, and Izuku felt completely healed, and he was like, wow, Mom, I thought you had a levitation quirk. And she was like, yeah, I do. I don't know how that happened. And he was like, yeah, me neither. And she was like, maybe that's your quirk. Maybe you can regenerate. And because they don't know his quirk. Because the guy was like, oh, he has a quirk, but we don't know what it is. So you'll just have to figure out on your own. So he just thought that his quirk was regeneration, but his mom now has such a sudden urge of power, and maybe she doesn't kill anyone, but she has a lot of temptation to kill someone. So I don't want, Mama Inko to be a murderer. No, Mama Inko. Because also, what would he do if Mama Inko became a mindless murderer person? That would just be messed up. Also, it can be kind of productive because she's killing to get a better healing ability. So she would kill and then heal and then kill and then heal. So eventually he gives a quirk by accident to a villain, and the quirk was like, what would be a quirk that you'd want to give to a person who's attacking you? I guess there can be quirks that like hinder you. So maybe like every 15 seconds he like slow down. But he has this urge to kill already, but it's like amplified a lot. And so now he just walks away from Izuku and kills someone. And Izuku just feels like all of a sudden, like a lot more powerful than before. Like, this is just the first time, and it's very little amount of power, but like, he went from no power at all to an okay amount of power. Like, I'm guessing like it starts off 10%, then with each kill it goes up. The more the kills, the less the percent goes up. Maybe, I don't know. Or maybe the more the kills, the more the percent goes up. To the point where you're just killing and like 110% of your thing is given to Izuku. But it's not like he gets the person's power. He just gets more, like, power. If that makes sense. So he's not gonna start slowing down after 15 seconds. No, instead he's gonna, I don't know, maybe he can like put power into other powers that he wants to choose. Like he's like, I want teleportation, so I'm gonna put this power into that, and now I can teleport. Or maybe it's like he just has power, if that makes sense. Like, just like generic power, like strength and like telekinesis, like just like generic power. Like, weird beam comes out of him. Have you ever seen like any comic book movie where just like a man has like power? That just generic power. Because sometimes you might want to give someone a bad quirk, or you might want to give someone good quirk, but either way it's going to give you good quirk. I should have probably asked for a lot more going into this, but I like kind of giving myself some stuff. But also thank you to Angel Bracket for giving me the whole idea. Because again, if you watched my last video, you would know the fact that originally I was gonna do one where he was Todoroki's brother, and that would have been what the whole thing was about. But now I'm gonna do this whole cool, completely, probably new idea, unless Lone Shark is like already a thing, and it's like in a different anime that I just don't know about. That would kind of be sad. But if this person made it up, I mean, clap and a half to you. Because you just gave me a completely original idea. So anyways, getting off topic. Again, off topic with Anime Gamer. It's kind of weird talking to myself in third person. Well, when actually I'm not talking to myself in third person. So he grows up, and he kind of already, now he's like feeling a lot of power, because as he's growing up, that man is killing a lot. And now that man has officially become a mindless killing zombie, as he put it. Or she, I forgot the fact that Angel doesn't have to be a guy or a girl. They, as they put it, I'm sorry, became a mindless killing machine and just kills anyone he sees. And he got arrested, naturally, because he's not really good at hiding murder. But now he's like really OP, and so people fear him. Unlike Bakugou, because people used to bully him because he had no quirk, naturally. Because, I mean, it's the same people as the original universe, as the canon universe. So, like, naturally, they're gonna bully Izuku for not having a quirk. When in reality, he does have a quirk. He just didn't, like, show one. Because pretty quickly, he figured out the fact that his quirk is not regeneration, because he cut himself. He thought of regenerating, and it didn't work. Now, of course, he can regenerate, because, again, he just have generic power. From now on, I'm just gonna call it GP, because that's much easier to say. He just has GP. And so now he can regenerate, but he knows that that's not his quirk, so he just assumes now that at random points he just gets a boost in his quirk, and his quirk is GP, like just generic quirk. GQ. So, he lives his life. His mom is very tempted a lot to just, give someone a quick jab in the stomach. By the way, you do not have an urge to kill Izuku. That's the only person, if any of the people that he gives powers, or he loans someone a power, they do not have any urge to kill Izuku himself. Now Bakugou's the only one with the gigantic enough ego to not fear Izuku, even though he totally should, because he can probably just immediately just snap Izuku Thanos style out of existence. But he's arrogant enough, and also they were kind of best friends, so he feels like he has a privilege, which he does, to not be attacked by Izuku, because it's still Izuku, and he still needs Snap to make him villain Deku. But the snap is not caused by bullies, but instead by something else that I would figure out and tell you later. Should really plan out these to give anyone suspense. But this is suspense. It's just suspense for both of us. So, everyone fears him, so he kind of didn't have any friends, which is fine by him, so long as he, is, good academically and has a supporting mom and stuff, then he's fine. But then someone told him something. Some person came up to him and was like, hey, if you could have a quirk, like it was like his teacher or something, if you could have a quirk, what would it be? Maybe it was like Bakugou. I don't know, maybe they're good friends. And Izuku was like, probably just the ability to fly, maybe? Because he doesn't have that. Again, he just has GP. Flight is, although a very generic power, it is not one of them in this. Because he's too overpowered already. Just by that one guy who was a murderer, so had a real lust for blood. And he was like, what about you? I guess Bakugou. Bakugou was like, I don't know, maybe the ability to crush my enemies. And Izuku was like, yeah, that does sound cool. And then he pats his back, and then Bakugou gets that power. So I guess the snapping point is Bakugou. It always is Bakugou. He is inevitable. Sorry for all the Thanos references, I guess. So now Bakugou has a sudden lust for blood as normal, but he kind of already had a lust for blood, but it wasn't like a lust for blood, more as a lust for power, which kind of correlates a lot with lust for blood, so like it's just stacking on top of it. And again, I don't think Bakugou would kill anyone because his lust for power is to be a hero. So although a lot of people think that he acts like a villain because he wants everyone else to not be heroes or good enough heroes so then he can be number one hero, not so then people stop becoming heroes so then there's less heroes. So I feel like he would just show that power by like punching a guy through a wall when he annoys him, and he's like, whoa, that's crazy, how that happened. And he was like, it's almost like I can crush my enemies. And then he remembers the conversation, and then he goes up to Izuku and is like, yo, the craziest thing just happened, my guy. And Izuku's like, what? And he was like, oh, I just punched a guy through a wall without my quirk, but it felt like it was a quirk. And Izuku was like, how did that happen? Did you find a way to use your explosions without exploding? And he was like, no, it didn't. It didn't feel like my quirk. It felt like a different quirk. And Izuku was like, is anything else weird? And he was like, yeah, I'm suddenly not as annoyed of you as I normally am. And Izuku's like, wow, thanks. And he was like, no, I'm serious. Like, I'm normally just a little bit annoyed by you. But now I'm just not at all. Like, I don't feel like you're a nuisance or anything. And Izuku's like, okay, anything else? And Bakugou was like, no. Obviously he does have another thing, the lust for blood. But not only is it too minor, but also, shit, I just retconned one of my things. When they used their quirk. So maybe he got the lust for blood when he activated his quirk, and the guy killed someone, with this quirk. Maybe he just slowed down naturally when his quirk activated, because I forgot his quirk. And what would his nickname be? The Slowpoke Killer? He kills you very slowly. And so, and then Izuku's like, okay, that's weird, I guess. And Bakugou was like, yeah, but I was thinking about it, and, this only happened today, and what else happened today? And Izuku was like, we went to math class, and he was like, no, you doofus, we talked about, quirks, and Izuku was like, yeah, that's like a normal conversation for us. And he was like, no, we talked about what we wished to have quirks. And my quirk was to crush all my enemies. And I literally crushed my enemy. And Izuku was like, that is weird. You can't, maybe that is your quirk. Maybe your quirk is that you can get whatever quirk you want. And Bakugou was like, really? And he was like, I want to fly. And then he jumps and he fails. And Izuku was like, yeah, it doesn't seem like that. And he's like, no, I bet it is. And then he tries to run away. And then Izuku's like, no. And then he grabs his hand, but then Bakugou like flicks away. Then he runs up, and then he jumps off a roof, and then he starts, like, hovering. Not flying, really, but hovering. Obviously, when Izuku, almost grabbed the hand, he gave him, a hovering quirk. To just, like, not die. And Bakugou's like, see? It is! And Izuku was like, you sure? He was like, yeah. I want heat vision. And then he tries to, spew out heat vision. Didn't work. He tries again. He tries again and again and again. Then he slowly just hovers back down. He deactivates his quirk. And then Izuku's like, yeah, it didn't work, did it? And he's like, yeah, whatever. And Izuku's just like, come on, let's go. And as they walk away, Bakugou now has 3 quirks, being hovering, being able to, I guess, super strength, you could call it, and explosions. But his two out of his 3 quirks are weak and cannot go any higher in power. No matter how much training he uses, he can only get better at utilizing it, not using it. If that makes sense. Basically, that he can get better at using it in situations, but not make the quirk better in any way. Unlike explosions, where he can up the explosion power, because the only way that he can do that is by killing someone. And again, he's not going to do it, even though the fact that now he has double the lust for blood plus his lust for power, which correlates with lust for blood. So like 3, but I don't know, I feel like Bakugou has the biggest willpower in the entire show, other than Izuku himself, and maybe All Might. So, this is all still before UA, because I don't feel like Izuku would get into UA. Or maybe he will, but I still need to give him the villain Deku backstory. Maybe he won't even be a villain Deku backstory. Maybe his backstory will come later. I don't know. I'm talking to myself out loud, because I can't think. So they go home. Obviously they have different homes, but I'm just saying they go home. Izuku's like, yo, mom. Yo, mom. He's like, mom. Bakugou just got 2 new quirks, but it didn't seem like it was his quirks. And Inko was like, what do you mean by that? And he was like, he told me that he could punch someone through a wall without, exploding them. And that he can, and then he ran up into the roof thinking that he can fly now. And he started hovering. So, I think his quirk is that he can make new quirks. But then he tried to do heat vision, and that didn't work. And at first, when he wanted to do hovering, it didn't work. So, I don't know. And she was like, well, is anything... Well, that's kind of weird. That happened to me, too. And Izuku was like, what do you mean? And she was like, remember when I healed you, like, years ago? And Izuku was like, yeah. I sprained my knee, and then you healed me. And for, like, 3 months, I thought... And for, like, almost a year, I thought that my quirk was healing. Regeneration. And she was like, yeah. I needed to heal you. And I healed you. And Izuku was like, that's crazy. And she was like, is anything the same about them? And he was like, I guess I was there. But that's the only thing. And she was like, maybe that's your quirk. And she was like, what do you mean? She was like, maybe you can give people quirks. And he was like, that sounds cool. Maybe that is my quirk. But then he was like, but what about my quirk where I can run fast and and I'm super strong and I don't know, I have regeneration. What about all those quirks? I thought that was my quirk. And Joe was like, well, maybe that is your quirk. Maybe you have 2 quirks. And he was like, that's a lot more than 2 quirks. It's like 7. She was like, well, maybe 7's all you need. And she just like goes to do the dishes or some shit because she's awesome, I guess. Well, does she have a job? She probably has a job. I mean, like she lives and stuff. So, but she's already at home. So maybe she's prepping dinner. Cause I mean, what else does Mama Inko do? Except for be the perfect housewife ever without even a man. She's just the perfect mom. I guess she like. I don't know what else Mama Inko does, cause I don't. That's all she really does is just be the perfect stereotype. And not question anything about Izuku's sudden growth and strength and quirk and giving him all the food that he needs on random. I don't really understand. I'm guessing she just preps dinner for Izuku and maybe watches the news. And Izuku goes to his room and thinks about it, and he's like, that's crazy. And then, he's just like thinking and then he turns on, he walks outside into the room and looks at the news, and the slow killer has finally been put in jail. And he looks at who it is, and it's the man that tried to kill him or take him away. And he was like, that guy? He was like, what? And Mama Inko was like, what is it, sweetie? And it was like, that guy a few years ago, I think it was a year apart from when you regenerated me. He tried to attack me and kidnap me, and then I bit his arm, and then he ran away, and I've never seen him since. What happened to him? And apparently and Mama Inko was like, well, apparently he had a lot of murders. And she pointed out the screen, and it said 106 murders that we know of. And he was like, what? And he was like, that's insane. How did that man, who could barely defeat me, who couldn't even defeat me, kill 100 plus people? And then it's like, some go back as far as, and then say the day that Izuku gave him his quirk and he shot the guy dead. And he was like, what? That's the same exact day. And he whispers it, mumble whispers, as Izuku does. And Inko's like, what do you mean the exact same day? And he was like, the first murder, it was the exact same day as when he tried to kidnap me. And Inko was like, really? Maybe he got away and then he decided to find another victim. And Izuku was like, so you're saying that I could have been his first kill? She was like, yeah, probably. And then, obviously, I like the overprotective mother she is. She just becomes really overprotective of him, even the fact that this happened years and years ago, and he's really powerful now, and she's not as powerful as him, and so not nearly as powerful as him, so so naturally she thinks that she can be better than she can protect him. And so now he's kind of having an insane thing where he's if that man, he didn't seem really slow to me, but apparently he was really slow. Bakugou, he killed a bunch of people after I had an encounter with him. And he was like, and then he was also like, my mom got a quirk with me, and when she needed to heal me. Bakugou got a levitation quirk and what does that even be? A strength quirk around me. Why am I the person in all of these scenarios? And he just like remembered what Mama Inko said and was like, maybe that's your quirk. And he was like, maybe my quirk is, maybe, did my quirk, Jesus, my brain, did my quirk cause 163 murders? I don't remember how many murders I said. That's kind of what he was on. The next day at school, he pulls Bakugou aside, and he's like, Bakugou, we need to talk. And he was like, what do you mean? And he was like, okay, yesterday, remember the weird guy, slow killer, who got put into jail? And he was like, yeah, I watched the news. What about him? And he was like, I was almost kidnapped by him on the same day as his first murder. And he was like, that's crazy. And he was like, yeah. And he didn't really seem very slow to me. In fact, he seemed really fast. And it said that his quirk was he slowed down every 15 seconds. Except it was longer than 15 seconds, and then he didn't slow down at all. And he was like, that's weird. And he was like, also, like a year before that, my mom got got a healing quirk and healed me on accident when I was there. And he was like, okay, when you got your new quirk, I was there. When you got your other new quirk, I was there. And he was like, yeah, what about it? And he was like, my mom told me that my quirk is that she said that maybe my quirk is that I can give people quirks. And he was like, that's impossible. You can't give someone quirk. That's not how quirks work. And he was like, well, maybe it is. Maybe that is how some quirks work. You don't know. For all we know, there could be a quirk that is just called quirk, and you're just quirky. And he was like, what? That makes no sense. And he was like, well, it could be. And he was like, okay, fine. And he says, so you're saying that I can have whatever quirk I want so long as you're near me? And he was like, yeah. But then he was like, so then why don't I have heat vision? And he was like, I don't know. Is there anything else that you felt that maybe, because I feel like I'm the reason why that man has 164 murders. And he's like, well, if it makes you feel any worse. He's like, wow, thank you. He's like, I have a sudden urge to kill. And Izuku's like, what? He was like, ever since I used my first quirk, I had an urge to kill. Obviously, I'm not going to kill anyone. But then when I got my second quirk, I have an even stronger urge to kill. And he was like, so you're saying my quirk makes people murderers? And he was like, sounds like a pretty good trade-off to me. And he was like, no, it's not. I give people quirks and then become murderers and then kill people. And he's like, well, I mean, that's what you have to do to get quirks. He's like, no, that's not what you have to do. And Izuku was like, but didn't they also say that guy, and then Baku was like, didn't they also say that didn't they also say that guy was mindless? And Izuku was like, he wasn't mindless. And he was like, yeah, they said that he didn't even know what a handcuff was. He couldn't speak, he just tried to kill you. And Izuku was like, great, so I make people mindless killers. Thanks for adding that on me. And naturally, Izuku's on a brink of tears because he's Izuku Midoriya, and Izuku Midoriya is Izuku Midoriya in every single AU. Now, I'm not going to make this a Bakugou. Because I do not like Bakugou. It is way overused. I also do not like straight ships. So no, what would that even be? Deku Raka? Or Uradeku? Or Urazuku? I don't know. So none of that. Maybe a Momodeku. I like that ship. but like nothing else. Maybe I don't know what ship I'm gonna do though. I'm thinking because I don't like repeating ships, obviously. So I'm thinking maybe Kiri Deku, Shin Deku. I think that's one's called Shinso and Deku. That's one of my favorites. Ida Deku, Shigi Deku. Even though I get they're like stepbrothers, or brothers-in-law, cause he's adopted. um, maybe Tabi Deku. Um, I don't know. Could be any of those. I haven't really come up with a ship, cause normally the ship just is already in the storyline, but I didn't really think of any, and Angel didn't give me any either. So I'm kind of glad, because I feel like maybe they would have probably told me to make it a Bakudeku, and I didn't want to make it a Bakudeku, but if they told me to make it a Bakudeku, I would have made it a Bakudeku, because I do what that person said. So, even if this was a thing, like already a thing, like this like quirk idea, I've completely changed it, so it's not similar. So thank you again, Angel, for giving me a completely original idea. Great. Let's continue. So Izuku has like an existential crisis and is just like, why is my quirk like this? I can never use my quirk now. But what is my other quirk? I have a different quirk that everyone knows me for. But then, is that quirk and the other quirk correlated? Or is that quirk just a different quirk and the other quirk is that quirk? But why did I get a bunch of boost in powers? And then he searches it up, and every single kill gave him a boost in power. And so he was like, great, so now I get a boost in power every time someone kills. So they're correlated. So does that mean that if any of the people I give quirks kill, I get power? I don't want more power now. So now what am I supposed to do? But also, I can't enhance my powers unless someone kills, so I can't do that. And it's very long tangent. I just went on a full on. He's like, I wonder what happens if I kill. If I kill, do they get more power? Do I get more power? I don't want to kill. Do I have to kill to test this theory out? I'm not gonna kill. What happens if my mom kills someone? What happens if Bakugou kills someone? What happens if my mom becomes a mindless murder zombie like Slow Killer became? What happens if Kanchan became a mindless killer like Slow Killer was? I don't want them to become that. So I can't. Now I'm gonna have to figure out a way to take away the quirk. Obviously, you can't take away a quirk. And so he's like, I'm gonna figure out a way to take away a quirk. And so he thinks, as he's walking up to his mom, take away the quirk, take away the quirk, take away the quirk. He taps on his mom, and he's like, hi, Mom. And then he, like, I don't know, cuts his finger on purpose. And he's like, ow, crap. And then his mom tries to heal it, and it didn't work. And he's like, what happened? What are you trying to do? Like, that just hurt. And she was like, I'm trying to heal you. It didn't work. And he's like, okay, good. And then it regenerates. And she's like, what do you mean good? And he's like, I don't want nothing. And then he runs away and runs into his room, and it's just like, and then she's like, that's weird. I'm just gonna ignore it. And so he's like, okay, now I know how to stop the quirk. The next day he goes up to Kanchan, and he's like, Kanchan, come with me. And Bakugou, because unlike in the original canon AU, this fanon, it's more creepy for him to call him Kanchan than to call him Bakugou. Because, like, in the fanon canon, people always make a joke being like, the only thing that scares Bakugou is, one, his mom, and two, Izuku calling him Bakugou Katsuki or Bakugou or Katsuki. But in this one, it's creepier for him to call him Kanchan because he doesn't call him Kanchan anymore. So he's like, yeah, I'm coming. And he comes over and he's like, listen, I'm gonna take away your quirks. And he's like, what? Why? He's like, I don't want you to become a mindless zombie. And he's like, what? And then he just like grabs his arm and then boom, his quirks all gone. And he's like, whew, I almost got really out of hand. Bakugou was like, what the hell? And now obviously he can't get mad at Izuku because he has nothing. He has no connection to Izuku. And he's like, what the hell? You idiot? And Izuku was like, yeah, whatever. What are you going to do? Attack me? And he was like, yeah, I'm going to attack you. And he tries to blow him up, and then it doesn't work because, I mean, Izuku has strong skin now because, again, he has GP. So, so now Izuku is just like, okay, now what do I do? This is a villainous quirk. I can't use my quirk now. I'm not going to use my quirk. And then the snapping happens. What is a snapping? It is, if you do not know already, a snapping, as I have deemed it, is when a person who once was a nice person gets something that's so dramatic that it snaps them into another personality. Normally a psychopath. In some cases, very big spoilers ahead, we have Dobby being abused by his parents, Shigaraki killing his entire family, Toga getting abused by her parent, and, I don't know, Kirigiri being mind controlled. But in Izuku's case, get ready, because the most creme de la creme of things is that Mrs. Mama Inko gets killed because of a hero. Not by a hero, but because of a hero. So basically what happens is, pretentious, not really caring hero, is attacking a villain and is not really caring about any bystanders. And Inko is walking down that street and is attacked by the villain, and the hero is kind of just like in a flow of glory, so it's like posing for like pictures and stuff. And then All Might comes in and is like, what are you doing? As like the guy, as Inko is still being killed slowly, and she's like, what do you mean? And he's like, an innocent person is being attacked. And then that person's like, because I don't want to name them, is like, it's fine. And he was like, no, it is not fine. It's just really. And then like a camera poses, and he has to like pose real quick. And he's like, I will go save. And then they take another picture, and he poses again. And then she dies. I'm gonna say it's by the sludge monster. So, but because she's not really loved, it's not in the press. So, not only is two heroes, one being the most popular hero, and one being a selfish hero, being completely not respectful for Inko, but also, none of the people who did anything even cared. So, Izuku just completely thinks that the whole society of everything is just completely fucked. It should just be ripped down to its basic of things, and then rebuilt into a perfect little utopia of mindless murderers. I'm only joking. Where am I? No, I'm only joking. Obviously by hearing the news, Senor, All For One, obviously comes home. Though, unlike in canon, where he just is completely gone, or in Fanon, where he leaves them and never comes back, in this alternate AU, they visit him regularly, and he even sometimes comes home for short visits, and then goes back to the hospital. Hospital, in quotation marks, being that's not actually a hospital, and is actually a area to go into a secret base and become All For One. And he comes home, saying that he's only going to visit, again in quotation marks, because you can't see quotation marks unless you're seeing me, and you're obviously not seeing me, so you can't see the quotation marks. So he comes home, and Izuku's like, Dad? What are you doing here? You didn't tell anyone. And All For One is just like, or Hisashi is like, oh, I'm back here because I wanted to mourn your mother. I wanted to mourn my wife with my son. And Izuku was like, yeah. And All For One is like, he's like, it's fine. Your mother was a really nice woman and would not want you to mourn for her. And Izuku was like, yeah, well, it's been a day. I don't think I want to stop mourning for someone after one day. And All For One's just like, that's fair, I guess. And he's like, well, you think that the perpetrator was brought to justice? And he was like, yeah, the person who killed her was brought to justice. The person who caused her death was not. And he was like, what do you mean by that? Like, very slyly trying to rope Izuku into his business. Sorry, the family business. A bunch of references that no one understands unless they are very weird. Like me. Family business. What do you got to do a family business? That's an ERB and Dead Meat reference. Cool. Epigraph of history if you don't know what ERB stands for. Anyways, and Izuku was like, well, although the villain is the one who killed Mom, the person who caused her death wasn't a villain. Though they should be classified as them. And he was like, who are they? And he was like, All Might and, I don't know, Mount Lady. She seems kind of pretentious and not really. I'm a good hero kind of gal. She seems very into the press side. Like, at least Midnight does her job, and that Wood guy at least does his job, but Midnight kind of just seems like she exploits people for the basicest of things, like a hot dog or cinnamon roll. And so he's like, oh, you need heroes? He's like, yeah. And he's like, oh, I think I have a good thing for you then. And he's like, what do you mean? And he's like, I'm guessing you hate those heroes now, don't you? And he's like, yeah, I hate them with all my soul. Of course I do. They killed my mom. And he was like, oh, well, follow me. And Izuku was like, okay, I guess, Dad. And then he walks with his dad, obviously, because it's his dad and he trusts his dad. Like any person who has a dad would, who isn't a complete jackass. Hopefully my dad doesn't watch these. Or they're dead, you know. If your dad's dead, then you can't really look up to your dad and follow your dad, because unless you're following him into your grave, that's fucked up. Sorry to anyone who has a dead father. I do apologize for that. Bet your dad was a nice man. If they're dead. And bet your dad was a nice man if he's alive. Anyways, back to the show. And he falls back to the hospital, and he's like, this is the hospital, why are we at the hospital? Obviously, you know, kind of mad that his father is talking about heroes and stuff, and take him to a hospital, and he's like, well, it's not a hospital. He's like, yes it is, it's literally survived because of this thing. This is the hospital that we visited you at every single month. Sometimes more than once a month. Sometimes like 7 a week, 7 times a week. Like in November. I don't know, I just thought of a random month. And he was like, but it's not. And then he walks up to the reception desk, and he's like, I don't know. He just like looks at them intently without any eyes because he doesn't have eyes. And then they let him in, obviously, because he's the person who created this group. Maybe this person is Kurogiri in like his not Kurogiri mode, and just like his not Black Mist mode, and just like his Kurogiri mode. They walk in, they walk down the stairs, and this is their base of operations, which also just happens to lead out to the bar. Or maybe this is where they have the Nomus. This leads to the Nomu area. And he's like, what is this place? And then Shigaraki's like, who is this? It's a really bad Shigaraki impression. And he's like, it's my son. And he's like, you have a son? And he's like, yes. And then Shigaraki's like, you didn't tell me you had a son. I thought I was your son. And he was like, you have another son? And he was like, not entirely, but yes. And Shigaraki was like, I am your son. And he was like, but I'm my biological son. And he was like, yes, but I am your son. And Shigaraki was like, oh, you're his like adopted son. I was like, yeah, what are you? And like he's like, I'm guessing his biological son. And he looked up at his dad, like with the expression like, I don't know who you are anymore, kind of thing. Not in a bad way though, not like in a Ben Solo twist. That's a really shitty Star Wars impression. Not impression. Frick, my brain is broken. A really shitty Star Wars reference. I don't even know you anymore. Like, I can't think of any references where someone gives you that face. But more like you're a completely different person than I thought kind of way. And he's like, yes, you're my biological son. And he was like, oh, okay. And he was like, hi, nice to meet you, I'm Mizuga Midori. And he was like, ha, see, not biological. And he was like, what do you mean? And he was like, his last name was Shigaraki. And he was like, no, his name was Sasashi Midoriya, also known as my dad. He was like, what? And Sasashi was like, oh, yeah. I use a fake alias so then someone can track me down. Because some people know my last name, but no one knows my first name, so I just use my last name. I just changed my last name to a random person from my ancestry. And I was like, what? I was like, yeah, it was my mom's name. It was my mom's last name. I was like, really? I was like, yeah. And so Izuku was like, so wait, my real name is Izuku Shigaraki? And he was like, yeah. He was like, yeah, that's your name. And then Izuku was like, hello. Oh, a random person is at my... And we're outside. Yeah. I didn't notice like there was two of us. So we're back outside. If you watched one of my older videos, you would know the fact that I've already been outside before. I normally am on my balcony, but right now I'm going outside. Again, if you watch my old videos, you know I'm really high up, that I have a fast elevator, and I'm not going down all those freaking stairs. What happened? Okay, sure. Sorry, I just had to do a bunch of chores. I'm still doing chores. I'm just kind of forgetting. And there it is. And we're off. Floor 1, please. So, if I remember correctly, where we left off, they were talking about Shigaraki being a part of the family, and that's his family name. So So Izuku is like, this is crazy. And Shigaraki's like, what even is your quirk? And he was like, and he's like, and All For One's like, yeah, what even is your quirk? I don't even know. And he was like, my quirk is that. And then he explains his quirk. I don't want to explain his quirk, because I'm too lazy. And also it's already an hour, and I need to finish this off. Oh god, this is my least favorite, because now I'm officially on the first floor, and I have to walk outside. It's fine. Okay, this is real weird. So Chigaraki's like, what? And All For One's like, yeah, that reminds me of my quirk, kind of, sort of. And Izuku was like, how so? And he was like, I can give people quirks. And Izuku was like, okay, I guess. And, ooh, shiny packages. And so, sorry, I'm grabbing the mail. Not very entertaining, I know, but it is very useful. Check out right now. Okay, and so they're obviously a little bit shocked by Izuku's quirk, but I mean, they thought it'd be a great asset to them. Also, that now Shigaraki clearly notices the fact that All For One, well, I guess he would never have been the successor, so he would have never been told that. He would have just been said that he would be a valuable part of the operation. Come on, close. Now, for being a fast elevator, the doors do not close fast. Ooh, Jesus. So, work. So, oh my god. I'm trying to think right now, I can't. For the life of me. So, I'm guessing, I'm just gonna leave this off because it's very long already. And as I'm walking back, I'm just gonna say that All For One gives, a evilish smirk with the little face that he has left and says, well, we have a lot of work to do.